You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Wednesday the 7th of May 2025 and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. Now, I've kind of realised that when I've had a good day in terms of writing, I nearly always start the podcast in the same way. I'll say something like, or probably word for word, and I've had a really productive day today. But I can't think of a better way of saying it because I have had a really productive day today. So it took me a little while to get to sleep last night, so I woke up a little bit later than normal. And I have been starting these streams at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it was about 9:45 before I started my live stream today. But during my live stream today, I was on for about 3 hours. So it took me till nearly lunchtime. Well, gone lunchtime. But I managed to get chapter 7 signed off. Chapter 8 signed off. And then I did the screen read through of chapter 9, which I was very, very pleased with. But one of the things that I had remembered wrongly was that chapter 9 was the chapter where I introduced Gordon Oakley. I thought he literally turned up at the end that he might get one sentence or so, but I didn't. He actually turned up right at the beginning of chapter 10, and I really wanted to get on to the scenes set at Forest Lodge, the gorgeous house that Arbor Associates own, that is up in near Windermere, that kind of area, Lake District. So this evening I came back. Well, I say it wasn't this evening actually, it was probably about 4 or 5 o'clock. I came back, was it even that late? Yeah, probably wasn't even that late actually, probably about 4 o'clock. So only like 3 hours after I'd finished the previous stream. And in that time, I started another one. And so I did another nearly 3 hour live stream. So I've done 6 hours of live streaming today and writing. And during that, I got chapter 9 signed off and read through chapter 10 as well. So I did the screen read through of chapter 10. And it's wonderful. I'm so enjoying it. And I think one of the reasons I'm enjoying it is that this is the first time I've read this knowing exactly who Ronnie is. Because when I wrote these, I was still struggling with her as a character. And it's still in the back of my head that there might be things I need to change now I've sussed her out. But so far not. So far she's still very direct. She knows who she bloody is, even if I didn't, is probably the best way to put it. And she's very forthright, very kind of no-nonsense, very much knowing what she wants. And yeah, I've really enjoyed the work I've done today. And of course, chapter 10 is the one where they arrive at Forest Lodge. So we meet Gordon Oakley for the first time. And we also meet my non-binary character, Marianne, for the first time. Now, I've played with their introduction because in the original introduction, I don't want it to be obvious that the character is non-binary. So I've used female pronouns to describe them. So I discover their non-binary nature at the same time as my character Ronnie does. But that just felt cruel. And it felt like I was gendering them or misgendering them, depending on your point of view. And yeah, that felt weird. So I introduce them as non-binary. I think Gordon calls her she by mistake, calls them she, Jesus, by mistake at one point, which they do pick him up for later on. But it feels like a much nicer introduction to the character. It feels more respectful to the character and their background. And also, I just see immediately why I like the character so much. I really, really like Marianne. Marianne became one of the most important characters in the book in the end. And they are what is known in the storyline as a Yakunda, which is actually based on a Latin word, and I can't remember what it means, but it means something relevant to the nature of those characters. Hang on, I did look it up the other day because I couldn't remember what it meant. Let me just type it in. Jucunda meaning. The word jucunda is a Latin adjective meaning pleasant, agreeable, delightful or pleasing, which is exactly what they are. They are people with good souls, is how the tree spirit Yggdrasil describes them, and that's what I couldn't remember if Marianne was a Jucunda or not. Although, looking at how the character behaves, it didn't surprise me when I got to that bit that that's how I described them. So yeah, it suddenly feels like we're on a very significantly different phase of the story. We're now at the bit where Ronnie is learning to become an ambassador. She's going to learn what her role is. The other interesting thing is there's a bit where Gordon Oakley asks her who Carl Tucker is, and she didn't know in the original version. Now, obviously, I wanted to introduce him earlier on, so he has been mentioned before. So I clearly had to change that Ronnie didn't know who he was. But I've just put that he's kind of an anti-environmentalist. She doesn't know him that well, but she's heard of him and so on. So yeah, I really enjoyed reading through those chapters. So chapter 10, hopefully I will feel as enthusiastic tomorrow. Tomorrow I shall sign off chapter 10 and hopefully make a start on, and if I'm really good, finish chapter 11 as well, which actually gets me up to Scotland and introduces the last two of the main characters that we're introduced to for now, which is Mackenzie and Ernest Carruthers. Again, some of my favourite characters. I love the character. Well, the thing is, you don't write characters you don't like, or rather, you might write characters that you don't like, but you create them to be unlikable. So, for example, Max Sosi in Still Life is a great character, but you're not meant to like him. He's an arsehole. Anyway, that's where I am. Really pleased with what I achieved. I will do some more tomorrow, and then the day after that, on Friday, I'm flying to Phoenix, and my intention is to do some writing on the plane. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do a podcast on that day or not. I will decide tomorrow. It'd be really cool if I can upload a podcast from the plane, but it will feel a bit weird if I'm recording talking into a microphone when everybody else around me is being quiet. So I shall make a decision on whether I want to do that or not tomorrow and let you know. And the other little thing I've decided is the 12th, I'm going to the main graduation for my friend in Phoenix. But the 12th is also the anniversary of the death of my friend Penny. I think it's the 12th. I will double check that. But if it is that date, I've kind of already decided I don't want to do a podcast on that day. So I will probably skip it. We shall see. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Both today's live streams are up on my YouTube channel, or will be very shortly. About 6 hours worth. So unless you really want to... And also I natter to... T.G. Campbell, Bow Street Society, and another person who's watched my streams for the last couple of days, independent author called Angel Fay. I'll talk about her book down the line. Anyway, I need to stop now because you can always tell when I've got a lot to say, because these podcasts always overrun when I do that, and we're already nearly on 9 minutes 10 when you include the credits. So I'll stop talking now. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.